Brexit means Brexit, and we're going to make a success of it.
Well, what does it mean? For the last year, it's meant a battle for the soul of Britain, and I've been on the inside of it.
We did it!
It's a battle where passions run high.
Yeah, just punch him.
Where nothing is certain.
To put it mildly, it's gone tits up.
Even when victory seems assured.
Off the scale, Mrs. May is doing spectacularly well.
But above all, it's a battle at the highest levels of government.
To pretend that it's going to be plain sailing is such knuckle-headed lunacy. It makes one wonder why anyone who thinks that is in politics.
A battle whose rumbles and murmurings I've captured at every turn. I'm at Downing Street to see Prime Minister David Cameron lose his job after defeat in the Brexit referendum. Glamour is to be replaced by order and certainty. And that's the last we see of Theresa May and her ministers for months. From behind the net curtains, word seeps out that Brexit will be no bother. Underway by next March, without any debate, without any opposition, and without any election. But Brexit has a way of proving everyone wrong. First setback, a private citizen, Gina Miller, sues the government over its refusal to let Parliament debate Brexit. The judges decide that Parliament must have a say.
Looking at the judges who took that decision...
The decision immediately stirs a powerful newspaper to anger.
Tore into an unelected panel of out-of-touch judges. It's something we'll be discussing.
The Daily Mail is an absolute disgrace. They should be ashamed of themselves. They have taken political reporting to the gutter in this country, engaging in bully boy tactics that is dangerous for democracy.
So why is an immigrant mother to a handicapped child taking on the government without any support from a political party?
I still haven't heard from anyone.
Labour Party?
No. Oh, no, not at all. Well, if they do, the first thing I'll say to them is, can I have my fees back, please? Because I've just done your job for you. But if everyone throws their hands up and goes, oh my gosh, this is so terrible, but nobody does anything, you have to stand up and do something. Every stream starts with a drop. And if I can be the one drop that starts it and gets other people to come together, then I'm very happy to put my head above the parapet and do that.
The judge's decision to back Gina, not the government, ends the new Prime Minister's parliamentary honeymoon, encouraging a handful of Tory Remain MPs to have another crack.
The government has so far resisted any even meaningful debate to take place in Parliament about our future relationship with the EU.
Why?
I don't know. What are they frightened of? They seem to be terrified of allowing members of Parliament, A, that we can't have a vote, and secondly, they seem to be determined that we can't even debate and discuss the fundamental principles. The truth is, they haven't got a clue what they actually want, because there is so much division at the most senior level of government.
Around the globe, Brexit upends the old order. No cosy international diplomacy, a wholly new type of leader.
Les Britanniques ont tiré les premiers, en quelque sorte.
Behind those net curtains, Mrs. May and her team say some very disobliging things about Donald Trump, confident he can't win.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business. Complicated.
The president-elect wastes no time in repaying her snub. He suggests one of Mrs. May's oldest, bitterest foes as UK ambassador to Washington. The man he calls Mr. Brexit.
Come here, Nigel. Come here. This guy. You know, they go around calling me Mr. Brexit, and I said, there's only one real. How are you, Nigel? It's a pleasure.
To the government's consternation, they discover this isn't entirely a joke. Trump thinks he owes his victory to Farage's anti-establishment template.
So we'll see you in a couple of seconds. Thank you. What a great honor.
He has suggested, of course, that I become the UK's ambassador in Washington. Now, I'm told the wine cellar's very good. It's not going to happen, is it? It's not going to happen. But sensibly, you know, I do know a lot of that team who are taking, you know, quite senior places in the administration. I've known some of them for years. Surely there's something I can do to help cement relations between an administration in Britain who've been rude about Trump and him as the incoming president. I mean, common sense says there's something I could do.
We're at Nigel's favourite Mayfair restaurant. 11:30 a.m, time for a sharpener. Rumours swirl the Brexiteers in the new government want him made a lord and put in the cabinet.
Mrs May backs the Remain side, but does so in a very lukewarm manner. She then becomes the Prime Minister and says Brexit means Brexit. I think, gosh, this is good. I like the sound of this. This is great. And then 5 months go by and nothing happens. I want to see some direction because I worry they're going to fudge it.
Only 4 months till March when Theresa May wants to trigger Brexit. She's worried that a parliamentary debate could delay everything. So she goes back to court to contest the judge's decision. But away from the media scrum, there's also an ugly private battle.
I had some senior police around the house last night who put in panic alarm systems all around the house because the worry now is that if anyone discovers our home address.
This Gina Miller.
Yes.
Woman is now, people are being nasty to me. I've had a death threat. I've got 10 death threats in there I've had this week, which I've sent to the Metropolitan Police. And do you know what they'll do? Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So this is all being presented that Brexit has led to, you know, a rise in hate crime and all this appalling behaviour. Yeah, I'm sure a few louts have behaved pretty badly since Brexit. I suspect they were behaving pretty badly before Brexit, to be honest with you. But the hate that's been put against us on our side of the argument, that story isn't getting a look.
Day 2 of the hearing. At the court, it's looking increasingly likely that Mrs May is going to lose and Gina win.
I got home last night to find out that the police have made an arrest last night, and the charge is inciting violence.
The consequences of not delivering Brexit would be extremely serious in the country at large. In 1832, the Duke of Wellington had to put iron shutters in his windows because the great hero of Waterloo was being pelted with stones by people who thought he was obstructing reform. It is very, very rare in British history that the British people have taken to the streets over a denial of democracy, but it is not impossible.
Final day at the Supreme Court. To my non-legal eyes, it's not looking good. At 4 o'clock, the Law Lords retire for their verdict. Gina Miller poised for victory. A victory the ever-loyal Brexiteers are already decrying.
I think this is a day of history. There's a good thing to say at the top of the 6 o'clock news to encourage people to carry on watching until 6:25. But isn't necessarily more profound than that.
And has Mrs Miller spent her money wisely?
That's a matter for Mrs Miller. People have all sorts of hobbies. Some people like yachts, some people like being litigants, and clearly Mrs Miller likes being a litigant.
It's absolutely worth it. Why would anybody want to make themselves a celebrity so that you get death threats? At the end of the day, you attack the person, not the policies or the arguments, when you have nowhere else to go. And frankly, they're just cowards.
She said earlier today that she'd received abuse for what she'd done. It's because she's black. That's why. Yeah, says it all, doesn't it?
So,
says it all. And yet that gets broadcast. And again, we're all meant to think that's true.
Just 2 months till Brexit, and I'm back at the Supreme Court. It's D-Day. Does Parliament get the say in Brexit that the PM doesn't want it to have?
Bag of nerves this morning, lots of different emotions. Relieved that it's going to be over finally and I can get my life back, because I only anticipated it going up to October. It wasn't supposed to be quite so many months. I can't think about it about winning. It's just about the right thing. I'm thinking about it about right and wrong rather than winning or losing, because I think it's right that we uphold our constitutional law and that we go to Parliament and the people we elect do their job. And I think it's wrong of the government to have thought that they could just go off and do what they wanted to.
I see she's now a philanthropist. Self-styled, I presume. But that's how the BBC describe a philanthropist, so she must be a good person. Mustn't she? I just find that description of her fascinating.
In broad terms, Article 50 provides that a country wishing to leave the EU must give a notice in accordance with its own constitutional requirements. Therefore, the government cannot trigger Article 50 without Parliament authorising that course. It has the opposite effect.
Yes.
The referendum is of great political
Of course I'm not. I'm
significance.
listening to the judgment.
But the Act of Parliament did not say what should happen as a result.
I know I've run with it, but it's not about it's not a victory. It's just what was right in the first place. It's now about what comes after today. I presumed all along that, of course, the courts would uphold constitutional law. So it's not a surprise to me that they've done. 2 surprises so far is the people who are on the media talking about, of course it's the right thing to do, of course it's... Where were they in the last 7 months? All the people who've now decided to pop up and be so supportive. They could have been supportive a little bit earlier.
Gina's victory is a massive headache for the government. They've got a tiny majority. Now they need more MPs to ensure Brexit actually happens.
The one thing I'm just beginning to think is I'd always thought there's no chance of an early general election. Mrs May's not the kind of person that takes risks and does things, but I'm just in the last 24 hours beginning to think that if Copeland goes to the Tories and if Stoke were to go to UKIP, you would have a really fatally weakened Labour Party, and that may be her opportunity to go for a spring election.
No national election yet. Instead, a surprise but very important by-election at Stoke in the Midlands, after the local MP resigns. Once famous worldwide for its pottery, Stoke has fallen on hard times. Poverty and decay are everywhere. Disenchantment with the political establishment widespread. The city had the highest Leave vote in Britain. UKIP are hoping to capitalise on Brexit with their anti-immigration, pro-Leave message. Stoke could be the perfect opportunity to show the party is on its way to becoming a major national force. The new UKIP leader immediately announces he'll stand.
So how's it going?
It's going really well. On the doors, very good. Looking positive. Opinion poll yesterday's got us 6 points ahead, so we're pretty confident.
And what's happening to the Labour vote?
Well, people are crying out for change. That's the one thing which keeps coming back all the time. They've had Labour MP for 50 years. People now want something better.
UKIP's early poll lead terrifies local cafe owner Gavin Tilston.
I'm worried that the people are easily led by
quick tales and quick fixes, and they'll listen to the words that are coming from Paul Nuttall's mouth and believe every word of it, because that's what they want to hear. They've been downtrodden for a long time, and now a saviour is coming to fix all the problems. We've got small sections of minorities, but those minorities aren't strong enough to stand up to the massive white population that say, you know, I don't want the immigrants in. I want to get my job for my son, for my daughter. I'm providing for the future. But I don't know, it's difficult. I'm scared. That's the long and short of it. I'm scared that we will get Nuttall as our representation. It's not good.
UKIP's chances are helped by the fact that their main opponents are the Socialist Labour Party, who are utterly split over Brexit.
2/3 of Labour MPs represent constituencies that voted to leave. 1/3 represent constituencies that voted to remain. This is obviously a difficult decision.
Now that Gina Miller has handed power over Brexit back to Parliament, Keir Starmer has to persuade Labour MPs to stop fighting each other and agree to the party's official position, which is to back Brexit with reservations.
There are differences of views in the Labour Party, that is obvious. What I'm trying to do is to manage that, to get us facing the future, but also to make sure that we don't descend into acrimony.
Yeah, how well do you think that last bit's going?
Well, at the moment, I think people are very respectful of each other's different positions.
Despite Keir's best efforts, 47 Labour MPs rebel and oppose Brexit.
To acquiesce and to agree to a timetable self-imposed by the government is just completely indecipherable to members and to voters, I think.
So why are they doing it?
That's a question for the front bench. I'm not going to try and justify their position because I think it's a disgrace.
Do you? A disgrace?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that our front benches let members down. Fundamentally let members down and let our country down, because nobody, even Theresa May, is saying her best deal in all this is a worse deal than we have today.
Back in Stoke, they've at last picked a candidate, a young party worker, but the Labour machine is hiding him from the media because he voted to stay in the EU at the referendum. Only his minder, Ruth Smeeth, MP for Stoke North, is allowed out.
So why am I not talking to him rather than talking to you? Nice.
Gareth is, and I say this in the nicest possible way, you're talking to me because Gareth's actually talking to the voters. Is there any point to UKIP anymore? Arguably not. They were set up to deliver a referendum. We've had one. They won. The rest of us will now deliver and come up with real and honest solutions to what happens next. That is not something you're going to get from UKIP or Paul Nuttall.
So if you had him in front of you, what would you say to him?
I'd say, get out of my city. His politics of hate and division aren't welcome here. He doesn't know what the people of this city needs because he doesn't know them.
Eventually, Labour's Gareth Snell has to break cover at the first debate of the campaign. The first sign this election isn't just about Brexit. I'm hearing resentment UKIP haven't picked a local candidate.
Stoke needs a national champion. Stoke needs someone who can put this place on the political map. I am a national party leader. If you elect me, change will be afoot.
So far, we've heard somebody that wants to use Stoke-on-Trent as a national platform, as a pit stop on his way to Parliament to further party's aims. My interest isn't my party, it's you.
In Stoke, local issues count, and Labour have realised it. But they still have a decades-old mountain of resentment to overcome.
I've lived 59 years in the city, and I'm sorry, but I hope Labour lose this time, and I've always been a Labour man. But you, as Labour, you're not Labour anymore. You're not the Labour of my dad and my granddad.
My granddad would probably disagree with you on that.
Well, you're not. You're not the Labour Party of the working class like you used to be.
The next big Article 50 vote doesn't help. Labour are still hopelessly split.
Ayes to the right, 498. The noes to the left, 114. So the ayes have it, the ayes have it.
My own sadness was that I walked through the chamber in order to go and vote as Labour MPs who I know recognise the damage that leaving European Union will do sat on their hands on the benches, and it was a terrible experience.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have felt sadder at that moment to know colleagues who I respect and admire and have admired for many years were not prepared to stand up on the most important issue affecting this country, and not just for that one moment, for a very long time to come.
Back in Stoke, UKIP are in trouble. Up till now, their success has depended on two things: Brexit and Farage. They decide to bring their old leader back to shore up the campaign.
I've done that
Keep the work up and don't go anywhere, do you know what I mean?
No, I'm not running away, don't worry. I'm not running away,
Keep your
don't
eye
worry.
on things.
Don't worry, I will.
You all right?
Okay, my love.
Safely back in London a few days later, it's a rather different, private story.
So we've got a very tough couple of weeks coming up. And I think UKIP needs to make one or two changes. At the moment, I'm not entirely happy with where we are, but I've got a big meeting with Paul this afternoon. And don't forget, and I'm a veteran of these by-elections. I know how it works, and I would hate to see us lose by 600 votes or 1,000 votes or whatever it is, because we just hadn't quite done it properly. So, there's still all to play for, but we're going to have to up our game slightly.
Nigel's right. Brexit isn't enough to guarantee a UKIP victory. Character counts. The police are investigating claims Paul Nuttall lied about living here in Stoke rather than at his actual home in Liverpool.
How's it going, candidate?
It's going okay. Yeah, it's
Interesting weekend for you.
I've been under attack, sustained attack. I suppose it's to be expected. This is touch and go. This is really tight, and they know that.
Proof indeed that it is touch and go right outside.
I am going to vote against UKIP. I am one of the very few who voted to stay in the EU. My father was an immigrant, and he was the loveliest man you could ever meet. How dare Paul Nuttall show his face in this city? Racist, anti-immigration bastard!
It's polling day. The day the political climate of Britain may be about to change irrevocably. And Storm Doris is doing her level best to wreck it.
Morning. So how are you going to vote?
The right way, hopefully. Yeah, let's just see what goes on with this weather. I mean, is it going to clear up or is it going to get worse? It's obviously going to affect the turnout, so it can go anyway.
Labour are pouring teams onto the windy streets. Worried Doris will keep their bedrock working-class voters at home, allowing UKIP's simple message of defiance to win.
I can only pray that it's not going to be UKIP. I felt like I've been kicked in the teeth. I've been betrayed by a friend because 70% of Stoke-on-Trent voted to Brexit. Everyone's got their own opinion, everyone's got their own views, but I didn't think it was that strong to go, I want away from a system that is going to fix everything eventually. I'm worried that the 70% of Stoke that voted Brexit is now going to be 70% of Stoke that go, oh, Nuttall might fix everything.
The polls close. Labour win.
853 votes.
UKIP lose by a crushing 2,000 votes.
I mean, wouldn't Nigel Farage have done better?
No chance. No, not at all.
No chance.
For all the bluster, it's a disaster. Brexit does not mean UKIP. As dawn rises on Stoke, defeated UKIP's offices are trashed.
Woke up this morning, it was fantastic. Facebook's full of, oh my God, great, we've made it, it's happened. There's no Nuttall. Do you reckon he'll still be in town later this day? And yeah, it was just a sense of relief, the smile on people's faces, people coming in shouting through the door, Gav, oh, it's great news, it's great news. And it's fantastic news to know that, we've got the backing of Stoke now. Stoke isn't full of people who just want Nuttall in place. It's good. We've got, there's positivity in the city. It's great. It was just a sense of elation, really.
It's such a welcome shock that Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn makes a surprise visit.
How are you? Lovely to see you, Gareth. Congratulations, Gareth. Wonderful result. Wonderful to have you elected, Gareth.
Are you still in favour of it?
Can I be the first to come here today to congratulate you on being elected the new MP for Stoke-on-Trent Central?
It doesn't go entirely to plan.
Mr. Corbyn, what about Copeland, Mr. Corbyn?
One thing I've learnt about the media is that you're incredibly rude to each other.
Well, can I just ask you...
Why can't you learn to be polite to each other?
Just a simple question. Just a simple question. Mr. Corbyn, about Copeland.
Only a month till Theresa May's Brexit deadline. 2 of her certainties gone. Labour are alive and Parliament is set to debate Article 50.
We will not be threatened into not fulfilling our normal constitutional role.
Mrs May's advisers couldn't care less. They think Labour will have to go along with them or risk electoral suicide. But some ministers are worried. They think Brexit is unachievable with a tiny parliamentary majority. One of them quietly talks to me.
I think that the parliamentary legislative process is going to be very, very difficult. I think it's going to become a bit of a quagmire. So this could become a parliamentary nightmare. And the second thing, and I think this is the one that genuinely worries me, is that we're saying these are our terms for, an EU-UK deal, and the EU are saying, no, they're not, these are our terms. And I can't see at the moment any route to a pain-free exit. I think a lot of people will sort of turn over in the middle of the night and think, is there a way out of this? But at the moment, I don't think there is one.
But for now, Brexit rolls on. On the 29th of March, Article 50 is triggered. Brexit inches closer to meaning Brexit. Cometh the hour, cometh the media. Cometh the man who's always loved and benefited from the limelight.
You've been triggered.
It's almost as though Stoke never happened.
How are you? All right?
Thank you so much for your doctor.
Good man. Good man.
Very nice to see you again.
Well, it's great to be here, and I hope we're going to have fun.
The Article 50 process is now underway. Britain is leaving the European Union. We are going to make our own decisions and our own laws.
Nigel, you have a pint in your hand. You've got Theresa May's letter in your other hand. Are you a happy man?
Oh, very happy. Look, I mean, today for me was the day that the impossible dream came true.
What do you want to say to French people today?
Come and join us. Take back your independence. Come on in, the water's lovely.
Yes, an excellent day. The process is now underway.
So as you ripped the covers off this morning, what was your first thought?
My first thought, Salva Feste Dies Toto Venerabilis Evo, which I can even play for you, actually. I've got it. I've been listening to this. Here we go.
What is it?
Hail Festival Day, venerable through all ages. It just seems to me an entirely appropriate theme for Brexit, as we're finally getting out of the European Union.
I mean, for people like me, and there are many of us, there are millions of us, this is a sad day. However, this is the beginning, not necessarily of the end, it's the beginning of who knows what. My job is to continue to scrutinise. My fear is that, look, what is the one thing we know the hardline Brexiteers don't want? They don't want time, because the British people might come to their senses.
Yeah.
They might change their mind. I shouldn't be too upset today.
You are, though, aren't you?
Well, it's just a bit shit, isn't it?
What do you know? Having spent all year saying there'll never be an election, Mrs. May suddenly calls one. Riding high in the polls, she seizes the chance to get the huge majority that the Brexit negotiations need.
I think everyone was taken completely by surprise. I just did not see that it was going to get through the House of Commons until she made the decision, and then I thought, she's going to get this through the House of Commons because the Labour Party are going to be a bunch of lemmings, and in this massive sort of sacrificial act of collective suicide, they're going to vote for an election. So she's played a blinder, and the judgment of getting it through the Commons, which in my view is the biggest hurdle overcome, is a stroke of genius. I'm still a bit disbelieving.
Newspaper polls give the PM a commanding lead. Labour's internal ones are even worse.
You voting in the election?
I am.
Are you voting this way?
Of course.
I'm in Stoke as comedian Eddie Izzard comes to give life support to Gareth and Ruth.
I don't feel like I've stopped from the by-election, so this is, just as I'd started to recover a little bit, off we go, and this is in my constituency. Well, we will be in my constituency in a bit.
And what are the odds for you?
I'm currently projected to lose.
Gareth, you're being filmed.
By contrast, the leitmotif of the Tory campaign is total control. The Tories decide they're so far ahead that Brexit gives them such an advantage, the Prime Minister doesn't need to appear in public. This is the East Midlands press launch.
Oh, there'll be wobbles. There'll be a wobbly Wednesday and a tetchy Tuesday and a sort of Thursday tantrum. I mean, it's in the nature of campaigns, but I have to say it's pretty steady at the moment, and no one else is really sort of, making any impact, I sense.
If anything, it's looking worse for Labour the longer the campaign goes on.
Hello, darling. It's Ruth. Oh, darling, I really wish you hadn't done that. You know you'd be voting for me, not for him.
I just don't.
But you know it's... Oh, no. It's going well, then. It's throwing his postal vote away. There is, unfortunately, a little bit of a theme at the moment. At this point, I honestly think it will be when people are, just as we heard, actually, when people have got their ballots in front of them, they don't know what... I don't think they know yet what they're going to do with them. Whether they think they're voting for me, whether they think they're voting Labour, or whether they think they're voting for Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn. And I don't think anyone knows yet.
Right.
So the count will be fun.
But incredibly, imperceptibly, the polls are tightening. Labour have learned the lesson of Stoke. Campaign on the NHS, not Brexit. The economy, not immigration. The crowds flock to see Jeremy Corbyn, even at 12 o'clock in a car park.
Let's give him a round of applause. Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the Labour
He even
Party.
turns Mrs May's refusal to debate him into a positive.
It's very odd that you have an election campaign where we go out and talk to people all the time, and the Prime Minister seems to have difficulty in meeting anyone or having a debate. And so there is a debate in Cambridge tonight. I don't know what she's doing this evening, but it's not far from London. I invite her to go to Cambridge and debate her policies, debate her record, debate their plans, debate their proposals, and let the public make up their mind.
Off to Cambridge for said debate, and another hero's welcome. No Mrs. May, of course, just a brave Home Secretary.
Remain before we, the electorate, make our choice. And tonight, the representatives of 7 parties are here to make their pitch to our audience here in Cambridge and to you at home.
Away from the crowd's adulation, the debate's a sticky experience for Labour's leader.
As you do, that there's a magic money story. What we need to do is recognise the human rights and justice of people all around.
And I want to make sure that we get the right result. And under Theresa May, you stood on a platform just about a year ago saying that you thought that Britain would be safer, stronger and better off in the EU.
What you say.
But just turning up has given Labour the PR advantage it needs.
Out on the stump, things are turning round. Voters have moved on from last year's referendum vote, and they want to hear about this year's economy.
You want one as well? Fantastic.
I'm a Labour leader.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're going to vote for Labour because, as they said, they're going to do the NHS hospital, they're going to stop all the charges because I work for NHS.
Yep,
We
it's announced
definitely
today.
need that because we don't have the staff, we don't have no parking space, and you have to apply for parking space.
Yeah.
Before you apply, you have to go through a lot and then they can reject you and they can say this or that.
Yeah.
So we definitely need it.
Yeah.
So we're going to...
Thank you for your support.
MPs who thought they were going to lose are suddenly confident of victory.
Have you made your mind how you're voting on June the 8th? Are you voting Labour on June the 8th?
I think so, yes.
You think so?
Yeah.
OK, did you vote Labour last time?
Yes.
You did? OK, well, do please stick with us and do let me know if I can help with anything. My phone number, my email, everything's on there. All right? Nice to see you.
Alarm is being felt in the bluest of blue seats.
Somebody peed on my poster, but they don't realise I caught on CCTV. They've trashed our posters. They've pulled them down. They've put graffiti on. Bastards. And yes, I have worn these shoes throughout the whole of the campaign. I bought them at the beginning of the campaign. They're incredibly comfortable. And they're knackered now.
And what about that landslide?
I have no idea. And even if I did know, I wouldn't share it with you. I don't know, would I share it with you? No, I think we'll do well. I think she'll get 50, 80, it could be higher.
Cabinet? Who's going to be in that?
I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. I won't be there. I bet you any money. She'll not have me back. I won't be back. Do you know what? I can say this because you're not going to broadcast it until after. I wouldn't be surprised if Amber Rudd becomes Chancellor.
Boris?
I have no idea. I don't know what's going to happen to Boris. See, whenever I see Boris, I'm always nice to him, and we always have a lot of fun. But I do struggle with him as our Foreign Secretary. I think we do need a big, serious grown-up.
We await the start of this last debate between Jeremy Corbyn and Theresa May in front of an audience of voters coming up in about 10 minutes' time.
Another sign of Tory nerves. Boris Johnson suddenly appears on the campaign trail after weeks of silence.
I think it's perfectly obvious
that the Labour,
so you think
the
that's
Labour
a good deal?
Party do not
More
have
expensive
a credible
goods in
plan
Britain is a good
for
deal.
negotiating with the European Union. They are prepared to take any
you
terms that are
upset most
going.
of the European
they are prepared
Union,
to take
to be
any
fair,
terms that
Boris.
are going, and I doubt
Can you leave a
very
list
much.
of the countries you've not
I
upset
doubt very much.
in your
I
withdrawal
doubt
when
very
you
much.
leave? What about the pensions? What about the social care cap?
Yeah, just punch him.
The leader of the Conservative Party, the Prime Minister, Theresa May.
The leaders are evenly matched. But in the spin room, the Foreign Secretary is less than diplomatic.
Because
There's a direct
you've helped coordinate this campaign. Sorry, Boris, just a second. You helped coordinate this Labour campaign.
And his
Hang on,
feebleness
Boris,
in the Brexit negotiations.
just a second.
Sorry, he's just been shouting my ear.
Well, but a piece. You helped coordinate this campaign.
He's never used a food bank. He's never been to a food bank.
Right,
actually, I started.
Whoa. Hang on a second. What I want to do,
You should take that
Boris,
back, old boy. Take it back.
No, well, why don't you just sort this out? Hang on a second.
Why don't you take it back?
I just want to hear.
You just pointed in my face.
I want to hear from. Let's hear from Jeremy Corbyn. This is what he had to say about that nuclear deterrent.
It's the eve of the election, and Boris's deputy is worried that victory is not assured.
The mood amongst the voting public, I would say, has gone sour. And, we've ended up with a campaign which has begun to make Jeremy Corbyn look credible. That's not a happy achievement. Some of the traditional Labour voters who he used to alienate are now saying, OK, well, at least he's better, at least he's not a Conservative. So I think this has closed quite a lot. And to me, I think the mood is very worrying. Over 30,000 people, 144 polling stations were questioned today. And by the magic of psephology, we're able to predict what we think has happened tonight. And what we're saying is the Conservatives are the largest party. Note, they don't have an overall majority at this stage. 340.
If those are even vaguely accurate, then I don't need a concession speech tonight, which I just finished writing. I'm delighted if we're a step closer to a Labour government, but if we're in a period of instability, of unstable government, not this strong and stable thing that she's been pushing, we're renegotiating Brexit, and because of the arrogance of the Prime Minister, what happens now, this is, the country, the world has never been more scary or unsettled. When are we going to negotiate our exit? We have triggered Article 50. What happens next?
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, are we going to be hung, drawn and quartered if this is all wrong?
Yes.
We have to go on.
I leave the happy family and belt 60 miles down the road to Beeston. Counting's just underway, and it looks like Anna's in trouble.
We called this election on the basis we were 20 points ahead, that we had this astonishing Prime Minister who we were all her candidates. She was strong, stable and everything else. And to put it mildly, it's gone tits up. And if Theresa's in trouble, the strong and stable leader is Jeremy Corbyn.
It's not just her. Up and down the country, safe seats are falling.
Hello. With more than 90 seats counted in the general election, Labour have gained 3 seats, 1 from the SNP in Scotland and 3 from the Tories.
A certain BBC journalist has just sent me a text saying, many commiserations. And I replied, I haven't lost yet. He said, blimey, misinformed, I'm very embarrassed, apologies.
But Labour and Tory are neck and neck. The clerk orders a recount. Back in Stoke, both Ruth and Gareth have won against the odds.
Presidential politics doesn't work in this country. May wanted Theresa versus Jeremy, and what she got was the Tory party versus the Labour party, and the Labour party smashed her. I wouldn't trust her to run a bath, let alone run a government and negotiations now. So she's got to go.
I mean, this was all her arrogance. She called this election, it was an unnecessary election. She had a majority. No one had blocked anything in terms of Brexit. She can't deliver anything now. She needs to go. I just hope that it's not another election.
The likelihood is still that there's going to be a Tory government of some sort, whether that's minority or propped up by the DUP. What there will be is a strong and stable Labour opposition. I guarantee that.
I need a holiday. I need some sleep.
Joy in the morning in Stoke, but back down the road, it's still tense.
Sigrid Anna Mary, the Conservative Party candidate, 25,980.
Anna squeaked it by 800 votes. And waste no time in letting me and pretty much anyone know how she feels.
There's disaster nationally. It's absolutely appalling. But we called this to increase our majority and apparently to strengthen the Brexit hand.
Election programme, are you able to, they want to get you on as soon as, if possible?
Which election one?
The BBC One election programme.
Yeah, let me think, yeah. I think she's in a very difficult place. She's a remarkable and she's a very talented woman, and she doesn't shy from difficult decisions, but she now has to obviously consider her position.
Almost exactly a year on, I'm back at Downing Street. A Prime Minister once again mortally wounded by Brexit. The biggest challenge to the government of Britain for a century. Rumours swirl amongst the media.
A very good night. He did turn the tide really in that election against Mrs May.
Eventually, Theresa May sets off to Buckingham Palace. She has been able to form a government. She's done a deal with Northern Ireland's hardline Democratic Unionists.
It's very easy to say, oh, you know, get rid of her, but it's very difficult to say, oh, well, this is what should follow. So, unless we risk having splits everywhere, complications, doesn't bear thinking about.
She returns from seeing the Queen in defiant mood.
It is clear that only the Conservative and Unionist Party has the legitimacy and ability to provide that certainty by commanding a majority in the House of Commons.
But I think that one of the undeniable truths of this election is that a large part of it was a further referendum shockwave. It's going to be very difficult to manage legislation in this new Parliament. That's just a no-brainer.
That's what we will deliver. Now let's get to work.
But in fact, nobody's got to work on Brexit yet. This autumn, Britain is as bitterly divided as ever.
Are you done? Is this you out?
No, because I think if in 18 months' time Mrs May doesn't grant the vote on the package, or at whatever time she decides to pull out of the union or not negotiate any longer, if she doesn't go back to Parliament and give them the right to do what they've just done, irrespective of how they've performed their job, then I would take the government back to court, because that would be against our constitutional principles again.
On the other side of the argument, no movement from Nigel either. He's got a nightly show at a major London radio station with one simple message.
We are going to get our country back. It's what many of us campaigned for, in my case, for 25 years. And my advice to the Prime Minister is be magnanimous. Say that the 3.3 million EU citizens who came here legally have their rights fully respected, but from here on, things are going to change.
So what about the 3 million EU nationals who live and work in Britain? The people caught in Brexit's crossfire? Take Yanos Hajanu. He imports the best food and wine from his native Greece after a 20-year career in the City of London.
I think everyone is lost, speechless to say the least. Painful, definitely, in terms of currency and the exchange rate. It's really, really damaging us. it felt like something broke. You know, it was like suddenly losing. You know, I came here when I was 18 years old. I've studied my undergrad, my postgrad. I've been working since I was 18 in this country, contributing, being part of the fabric. But as a European, I've been here for that long time. I have 2 kids, you know, living here 24 years. They have British passports, and I have a European passport because I never ever thought that I would have to get a UK passport. Why would I? You know, why would I? I mean, and suddenly it's like, oh crap, you know what, my kids are going to be waving me goodbye in Kent, kind of like on a little boat on my way to France or something. Scary.
Some are leaving already. They can't take the risk of staying. Eric Bonnet runs a small investment office.
You, as a business, have basically said, I'm not putting my money in Britain for the foreseeable future.
Yes, of course. Of course.
What? That's and that's
I'm
purely...
sorry, but you know, I invest funds which are my money and money of my clients. So, and I try to find the best opportunities. And you don't want to lend money to people and businesses in a country where there is such a risk. But I think some politicians have a very big responsibility on that because they told things which are not true to the people for political reasons. I mean, the consequences of that now are really very damaging for UK.
So what about the UK? A year on, what does Brexit mean?
It's a question mark. No one's been informed because everyone lies, no one's trusting anyone. So it's all question marks. But you just plod on, don't you? You keep on keeping on and do what you can do, and then see what happens in 2 years when it's not even 2 years now, is it?
No. March 2019.